Here's a test. How do you pronounce? What the fuck was that?
I just farted into the microphone. Previously on Basement Discourse, we spoke with Brant, and that's pretty much it. There we go.
Can't wait to have all this hype previously on music behind that. It's definitely not from a very well-known show, and that's why we use it. Can't wait to have that behind that deadpan voice.
I was just trying to get up and sensual, but I'm not a very sensual person, you know. Maybe I should have been like, previously on Basement Discourse, we speak to Brant about things.
That's better. That's actually better. Yeah,
okay,
that was better.
Yeah.
Have you ever watched
the new one?
Have you watched a VTuber before?
Yeah.
Have you ever watched a male VTuber?
Yeah.
They always talk like that. Like male VTubers talk like they're trying to be sexy as fuck. They're always just like, "Oh, I'm gonna open this chest." When they're like gaming. Like, yes.
Is that your sexy voice, Brady?
Dude, I think he kind of nailed it, to be honest.
I thought it was great.
This speaks volumes about
where Brady gets his money.
With your relationships, guys.
It's a reason I don't voice act, man. Like,
yes.
I think the dramatic pauses were on point. I liked it. It was well done.
Good. I can seduce Justin.
Perfect.
Mission accomplished.
To be honest, I'm pretty easy.
Which is appropriate because that's code. So yeah, I did the previously on. Hey, welcome Basement Dwellers. I'm Jace, the gaming man. And then we've got Brady, he's the weeby guy. And then we've got bottom guy in a sweater. He does D&D or some shit.
Apparently.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
All right. So to start off today's episode, I figured I would start by sort of eating my hat, for lack of a better term. When we watched the Elden Ring trailer, we all were basically like, it looks pretty, but it is basically just Dark Souls with like Oblivion in like it. It just looked like a more vibrant Dark Souls game.
Yeah, and I totally was in that camp. I was there being like, it's jank. Why the fuck? The hits aren't connecting. Yeah.
And since the episode prior, which you've all watched, I have purchased the video game and I have sunk 33.3 hours exactly
in a week
right now.
It's impressive.
It's addictive, dude. It is.
So
absolutely,
you guys knew my story of like struggling to get it, and then I got it and couldn't play it. We're now recording like 2 days after I like installed and got ready to go. I'm like over 10 hours, which is silly for a man who's done 12-hour days in those 2 days of work.
Like we've talked previously about how little free time we've got, and yet you've spent 10 hours out of like what, potentially 70 playing it. Jace, you put 33 hours into it. I think I'm about 40 hours into it as well. So yeah,
at least you had a week's head start though. Like
this is true. Yeah, I've actually had more than a week. I've had a week and a bit, like 2 weeks even.
So basically, Justin doesn't have enough time on his time.
No, I never have enough time with my time. Shit.
But
I'm so glad that stayed in.
Yeah, man. So I'm absolutely hooked on it. Like, it's funny though. Like, it's a really interesting game because at its core, it doesn't do anything new. Big open world RPG, plenty have done that.
Yeah.
Really hard RPG, plenty have done that. The Souls style combat they've done, in
through the Souls and Demon Souls games
and Sekiro.
Dark Souls and Sekiro, yeah.
So like there's a whole, plethora of that. It's not like there's anything new, but they've just smushed it all together.
Yeah.
And somehow it's made it more approachable, but not easier, just more approachable.
100%. They didn't cave. Like that's one thing I'll give to From is that they don't cave on the whole, this is our approach, this is our game, and this is the difficulty, and this is like what you need to do to get through it. We're not going to make it easy for you. We're not going to give you map markers. We're not going to give you a mini map in the top corner. We're not going to give you a quest log. We're not going to give you like signs or things on the map that you need to go to. Work it the fuck out yourself. So you wake up.
It feels like reading
dungeon,
a novel
that's
in
it, get
a lot
out,
of
that's
ways. Like it's the fantasy thing, but without any of those gaming elements to a degree. I have been thoroughly enjoying it. So I've played Dark Souls, but like with mates. I've never played an account and played a Souls game or anything from. But I knew their reputation. I've watched videos of them and all that sort of stuff. So this is my first one, and yeah, like I was the last one of us to start, and in the least amount of time I've clocked up a lot of hours relatively. It is addictive. They don't do anything particularly new, but they do it well. Some bits like there's some graphical things where I'm like, I could bitch about it, but I don't feel the need to because I'm having a good time. It just plays well. I like that no matter what you pick, you will have at least some disadvantage, no matter which class you go with, and you'll get some advantage. It feels like they did a really good job of making it balanced to whatever you want to do. You are some bit good, some bit fucked.
I think that's been a thing that they've done a lot since the beginning of Souls. It's just you've got, with Elden Ring, there is so many more options because they've added all the stuff that they've added from previous games. They're like, oh no, let's keep going. We'll add more. Like I've found some bizarre weapon types that I didn't think they had in the older Souls games.
Yeah, they've definitely broadened their scope of weapons. That's for sure. I picked up
I
a
found
fucking
morning
anchor.
stars and shit as well.
I had an anchor. A fucking anchor.
Yeah,
dude.
Fucking
I got a whip too.
I've also got like fucking blade claws.
Yep.
Like
they've
cool.
really
I'm fucking Freddy Krueger or like
I feel like they've actually done the
Street
history
Fighter.
on these weapons too, because they're all very historically accurate when you look at the pictures and the designs.
Yeah.
Because I got like really into that blade smithing, like Master Chef, but for blades. I can't remember what the show was, but I got really into it a few years back. Of course
you fucking did.
Yeah, dude, because it's just crazy. It's like whack.
Wait, was this a real show?
Yeah, dude, it's still going. Forged in Fire, that's what it is. Forged in Fire. There's like 15 seasons of this crap. It's actually not bad.
I've watched a YouTube channel where they it's like a blacksmith who recreates things from different. So because I'm
similar, this is like Otaku. A game show style. Like, they
sort of like there's a glass blowing one too.
They throw like six smithies in there of different experience levels and whatever. Give them like 2 hours to forge a certain weapon, and they tell them what type of weapon. So it could be a kukri or whatever, anything. It can be anything. And then they progress from there to different levels. The final stages, they have to craft something amazing, and it could be like a freaking anything, like just whatever. Like some of them have had to do like katanas and stuff in 3 days or something. Like it's just insane. But from the knowledge of that and from seeing a lot of different historically accurate weapons, you look at the weapons in Elden Ring and like they're all very accurate and very similar to history. So, which is impressive. And they've just got a huge expanse of them as well. From like one-handed weapons to
for sure
two-handed weapons to strength-based to dex-based to holy crap, man. Like you could make 6 different characters in this game and each one of them could have a totally different set of things that they're doing. Like totally
Does anyone
different.
feel like overly intrigued with the story? Are you just having fun living in the world?
I wouldn't even care if there wasn't a story at all, to be honest. Like just the idea of getting stronger and fighting more bosses and moving my way around the world is almost enough.
In all honesty, if they were just like, you've got to kill this guy, but to actually be able to beat him, you're gonna have to kill everyone else too.
You gotta get good.
Ultimately, that is just like when I was watching the intro video, my thoughts on it were that basically they just put in a bunch of random words and then a random noun, because it was sort of like in the time before bat penises. There was
I'm a say it.
fucking whatever, and like they just throw random nouns like calling you tarnished. They never explain what that is. And then there's also like what are the women called that lay at the deathbed of people and stuff like that?
Like maidens or whatever, or
there's some special term for it, but they have
Yeah.
special terms for everything, but they don't actually explain what any of that means. And like, I get that that's a total from thing, but it means I have zero interest or care in the fucking slightest as to what the story is. But that doesn't take away from the game in any way.
Strangely, it doesn't. Because if it was done in any other type of game, you'd be like, why do I even fucking care right now? I don't give a shit.
Especially for an RPG, right? Like the role-playing element is not just about you deciding what you do. It's about being immersed in a thing. But it feels fine. Like, I don't care about any of that.
It's very hard to explain why that works so well.
It's like Skyrim and Oblivion. Both of those, like, as much as the story is there and it's easily comprehended, at no point in time have I ever given 2 squirts of piss about the story in either of those games.
It is there,
also
though, so
first
you can
Skyrim reference.
get invested in it.
The only reason I got far in the Skyrim story was for the Dragonrend shout. Apart from that, couldn't give a shit. I did not care at all.
Yes and no, though. I mean, you go to the Dark Brotherhood, you know what they're about. You go to the Thieves Guild.
Yeah, but that's not part of the main story. That's a quest line.
But that's what he's saying.
Quest line.
Like,
I think what Justin's saying is you go to the Dark Brotherhood and you understand it. If you go to, like, I don't know, the Well of Sophia, you have no idea what the fuck that is or why it's there or anything like that.
If you do take your time, and I think if you really slowed yourself down, because we're in such a rush to kind of keep up with the pace of everyone else.
The world.
I think
I just want a big fuck off sword.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think if you slowed yourself down and talked to some people and really started to dig into the conversations, the more you repeat conversations with people, the more you learn about things, the more lore and stuff you do actually hear being dropped about the place. So you know why their name is tarnished. Though. No, but I think that's the point, because you're not a video game, you are a person in a world, and they've dropped you into it and you are that person.
Oh,
that's the idea of it. Like,
I'm gonna say it. Is
ISEKAI?
Is Elden Ring ISEKAI?
Brady, every fucking game is ISEKAI.
Because we're not
literally going into another world every time you open a video game.
No, but the character has been.
Don't anime everything.
The character has been isekai.
That happens in every video game. All of them. At no point are they like, oh, well, you know, you're not playing a game. You're a guy just sitting there.
No, but that's not what the genre is. The genre is just like you get swept into another world, which is what happens.
Like every fucking game.
Doesn't matter.
That's what happens. Starts.
It happened. Elden Ring's anime. Done.
Oh god.
Well, like Elden Ring totally is, because like I'm a guy just running around with a katana right now.
100%.
But
it actually brings me to my only complaint ish, because
get him, Justin.
I'm loving this,
right.
and
what do you got to say, son?
This. No, I am also loving this. So let me just say, like, I like it because it's like doing something for the first time in a fantasy game, which is not an experience I've had for a long time, right? Like, they are mostly copy paste in one way or another. But I also find it somewhat annoying at times. They are doing the elements that they do that are like other games are still there, but just given different names, and it shits me up the wall trying to work out what they are. So, like, for example, weapons are just not called weapons.
They call it
armaments.
armaments. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gender wasn't called gender.
Yeah. What was it? It was like type A,
type
and
B.
type B.
Type A and type B.
I didn't even notice to start.
I think that's a separate thing, and I'm not going to even go into that.
I actually kind of like that. Like, in the concept
I was cool with that.
If you want to pick a body type, go for it. But we're not going to call it.
That's fine. I didn't care about that. But like
the gender thing makes sense. Yeah, I guess.
Of course, you fucking bring it up, Justin. I was going on other stuff.
Yeah, the moon doesn't have a gender.
Yeah. No. So there was the weapons renamed. There was, instead of like applying a effect to your weapon or a, something of that, it's called an Ash of War. Like, it's
but so the Ash
they've
of War
taken,
I sort of get, because
but there's a lot of elements like that, right? Like, you guys know what I'm talking about. They are
100%.
normal,
they're definitely just
well-known fantasy elements that they've just decided to give a new name to because reasons. And most of the difficulty, that's just like us having our advertisement saying Shalo instead of Halo, like, No, it's not. That's a parody. That's very different. This is where they were just like, fuck the conventional name of things. We're going to add more difficulty to this game, which is already difficult, by just making you try and work out what the fuck things are called.
Okay, so firstly, for our English student dropout here, Brady, armament is an old word. It has been around for an eternity.
I know that.
From didn't invent that word.
I do know that.
So
schmarmament's not a word. So if they called it schmarmament.
But like the next thing is like your Ashes of War complaint, right? The only thing that's similar to that would be like enchantments on weapons.
Yeah.
Not every like game or fantasy world calls it enchantments either.
It's an enchantment or an effect, but like it's something that has a name you're aware of. You have to basically work out what the fuck that is, all on your own.
Yeah, but they do kind of explain that when you get your first Ash of War.
Yeah.
Comes up a little tutorial box that says what the fuck it is and what it does.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, granted, I pressed start immediately and didn't read it.
Yeah, I was like, I don't remember that. Maybe I accidentally.
I 100% do that.
Because sometimes, why is it for a game that gives you no instructions? Half the time you pick up an object for the first time and it takes up half the fucking screen with a new item, a flower. And I'm like, can you fuck off?
Yeah, 100%. I was in the middle of a fight and I still had a fucking, picked up a dandelion. Like, fucking, I'm about to die here.
Yeah, because like
dragons eating me.
The game doesn't feel the need to explain anything else new to you except for some random shit you pick up. And it's like, hey, it's the first time you pick this up. Half the screen is an item box with writing that's like scaled to the tiniest thing in the middle, and you're like, what? Look, honestly, if this is all the complaints I have about a game, it's fucking one, right? Like, it's done well. But
I haven't glitched out. I haven't fallen through the ground. I haven't
done any of
I've
that.
not had a single issue. I know that some people have had issues with PvP, like with trying to raid.
I don't care about
games.
that. Does anyone?
Yeah, it is essential for certain things you need to do. So for a mission, you actually need to do it essentially, and also to get to a certain area to do a little farming hack. You will need to do that as well.
I don't care about that.
So you will want to care about that soon enough when you realize.
Do you guys play fantasy RPGs to play against other people?
Not necessarily, but like...
No, yeah, that's what I thought.
I don't see the benefit in it in Elden Ring, but I can see how other people are enjoying it, because when I started raiding people, they were ready for me. These motherfuckers were ready. So I went in because I had to do it for this mission. So you have to raid 3 people's games. I raided one game and I'm like, where is he? Like, I'm looking around for the guy. Where the hell is this guy? So I'm walking around. I'm like, I don't even know where I am right now, but this is cool. Like, I won't get attacked by anyone because I'm in their game, right? So enemies attack them still, but they don't attack you because you're kind of almost a ghost. You're running around. I'm like looking for this guy. I'm like, well, there's a grace point here. I might as well get that while I'm here, I guess, so I can teleport back here. I go to do the grace point. The guy is disguised using a mimic grace, and he is the grace point, and he gets out of it and attacks the shit out of me. And then two dudes who are trees pop out and attack me as well. I'm like, holy crap. I just got played hard. And then they killed me and teabagged me. So that was interesting. So some people were loving it.
Hot tip, as far as I'm aware, for some PvP, as far as I'm aware, you can actually call for someone. So like you use one of the furled fingers or whatever.
Yeah,
call
you can.
for someone. So then he probably set that up so then when you went looking for someone to invade, you just dropped into his trap.
Yeah,
which
100%. They are trapping people that are attacking people. And it's in that point where you're trying to do the mission for this guy. So everyone's doing it at the same spot. So they're just sitting there farming all these kills.
It's the first time I've heard of teabagging in a fantasy game. By the way.
Man, it was so obscene. I was like, really?
Why it's so funny, but it just is. It just feels like a toxic, like FPS sort of situation.
That's the From Software players though. Like that's them to a T. You'll get helpful hints along the way. So anyone who hasn't played it, helpful hints are popping up all over the place. You can write one yourself, or you can read ones that are anywhere in the game. They're all live from other players that have written them in the past. They're there. They're meant to help you, but like half of the From Software player games, like people are helping you. The other half are just trying to screw you over in every way, shape, or form. I swear to God. Some of them are like, hey, there's a chest over there. It's really handy. Just around that corner. You're like, oh, thanks, guy. One's like, try jumping. And you jump off the edge and you just die. You're like, thanks. Or they're like, didn't think invisible bridge. You're like, oh, cool. Invisible bridge.
There's also like some people have been really smart about putting down bloodstains. So in one of my games, I actually have a screenshot of this. I'll send it to you, Brady, to put in the episode. But there was a chest in like an underground tunnel thing, and it was just a tunnel, goes down, and just a chest in the middle of the room. I was like, cool. There was a blood stain right in front of it, and I'm like, I'm not touching this.
Yeah.
I'm like,
oh my God.
There was nothing. There was just an item in it. It was fine.
How did they do the blood? Did he die there or what?
He must have baited aggro and then died in front of it on purpose.
That's hilarious.
God. That's so much work for what it is. Like, why?
It's so funny.
Nerds are fucking ridiculous.
So here's the kind of fun thing as well, and I think we should cover this before we move on for Elden Ring, so we don't talk for an hour about it.
What are you talking about? We're going to go to a break and then talk about Elden Ring.
We have 10 people in a group chat that we talk about Elden Ring literally all fucking day.
But so we have different experiences playing this. Now that's probably happened partially because we play on different consoles, partially because we're different people. But for me, being the last one to pick it up, it was somewhat in the back of my mind that we're going to talk about this and create content. So I'm going to try and do it different to you two, which was a guess because I didn't know exactly how you guys were doing it. So I reckon in a fun thing, since we're mid-episode and I haven't told you about this, guys, why don't you just talk through how you're deciding to play through in your current version?
Like as in like character build?
Like your build.
Yeah, so I'm a... What the fuck is a confessor? That's the class that I am. So
what was your name? Did you name your guy anything interesting?
No, God, no. I named him Snacks.
I was going to say it's Snacks for sure.
I always do it because I always build my characters to be like me. That's my RPG thing.
Yeah.
And so the way that I always like to focus a lot of my characters is speed to some degree. So I like someone to be agile and able to move. So I've focused on the strength/dex build. So I'm going to hit hard, but I'm going to hit quick. And that's my primary focus. And that's pretty much why I run a katana and a shield and all light armor.
describes it well. Yeah. Justin?
Nice. So I am a spellblade, and I think I called my guy Bob the Sword Guy.
Fucking you and Bob.
I know, right? It was great.
Bob the fishmonger.
Bob the Sword Guy. So Spellblade, he's got a staff in one hand and he's got sword / whatever dex-based one-handed weapon on the other, and he's just completely dexterity and intelligence-based. But I've realized that I've needed to bump up my mind and my vigor, because your vigor is your health, so you need to be up close with a sword. So I was getting one hit by literally anything in the game, so I needed to bump that up. And mine just for my my mana, so I needed to get that up as well because of the spells. So that was a bit hard. So it's a bit hard to balance because there's 4 or 5 different things that I need to level up. So it's a bit shit.
Back to Brady's point, it's actually called FP, not mana.
Oh yes, my bad. FP.
Like
Yes.
FP, fuck that. That's so shit.
It's really weird that they. That's yeah. That was my point with that. So I went dual wielding. I'm focused on endurance and dex, although I've had to put a little bit to vigor lately because of the same reason as Justin.
You're gonna. I think everyone's gonna end up.
Yeah.
I think so.
My plan is to hit multiple times. None are gonna do all that much, but just hitting so many times that they stack up. So I've gone a bleed build. That's why the endurance is so big. So I'm hoping to inflict bleed on everybody and just, cause damage over time as opposed to single hard hits.
Nice.
And I did that because when we spoke about Elden Ring last time, there was a lot of talk about how magic was good. And I figured that someone might go ranged. Jace, you've not done that, which actually kind of surprised me. I figured you'd be a ranged fighter. I knew Justin was going magic, so I was like, I'll be super different and be super up close melee. And then you've kind of done the same thing, but in a different way.
So people who don't know, Souls games suck anus, all of the anus, like right up on the lips, if you try and use a mouse and keyboard. So using ranged basically requires you to, like, you've got to have a controller. You have to right click in the thumbs, click in the thumbstick to fucking lock on and do it that way. So ranged is really not that enjoyable. Like, I have a crossbow that I just keep on hand if I need it, but it's not a focus at all.
I've had the Kuni
if I need it.
I've been throwing daggers.
Oh god.
Well, they increase bleed. So they're really good for me.
Huh.
I did use daggers. So I actually found a chest that traps you and it sends you to Landel, the capital, which is out in the middle of nowhere, absolutely nowhere near where my leveling should have me.
Yeah.
And you literally cannot leave. So normally when you get teleported with a chest, you can just run off and then find another point of grace and teleport home. You can't here. There's 2 ways to exit and both fall to your death.
Shit.
Unless you kill a giant golem. I literally used every throwable item I had on him, and then I died afterwards.
Oh no!
So I lost them all.
Yeah, that's the harsh reality. Is that anything like you apply from your inventory is gone. That's a bit rough. Yeah.
It took me forever to be able to
consumable items in this game. They suck somewhat, but like it's realistic in a way that makes it hard and it's fun. But that's the only complaint, is the one I said previously about how they've just decided to rename shit, but which I'd be okay with if they explained it, but they kind of do, kind of don't. Some they do, some they don't.
But I think
just
it comes back to the story thing where they don't explain what the fuck a tarnished is, because people can apparently tell that you're tarnished.
They're an isekai character.
Shut up.
They are. You can't argue that. That's what they are. They're like someone who's been brought into this world.
But my point is, they don't really explain what anything is very well.
Yeah.
No, they don't.
They very much gloss over all these obtuse terms they use. But that's kind of the charm as well.
You sort of work it out, though.
I sort of
Like,
enjoy
you know
it,
what I mean?
though. Like, yeah,
kind of just work it out.
Eventually, you start getting context clues.
Yep.
And it's like, I sort of get this.
You piece shit together, and I think that's the whole idea of it. Is you it's not a game where you can't pay attention. You can't play it with music on in the background and just watching anime in the corner. Like you have
that's
to
exactly what
pay
Brady's
attention.
doing.
yeah.
He's watching
That's
hentai
like.
on one screen and playing the game on the other.
He's
Tentacles,
like, this is
dragons.
ISEKAI. No.
Tentacles, dragons.
If you're in the right area, you can have tentacles on both screens because land
This is true.
octopuses.
This is true.
Yeah, I ran into one of those actually. I was like, "Oh, do I pause?" I don't. Oh, you can't pause.
Just spit on it.
There's been so many times I've wanted to just screen capture or just capture a little bit of footage to show you guys what's happening, and I'm like, I can't do that because I'm going to get my ass kicked if I do anything right now except for fight this thing or run away.
Yeah.
But it's fine.
I actually play with OBS open, so
nice.
if I need to, I just I have a
press a
Stream Deck here.
Yeah,
I can just press record on that.
You can with an Xbox, you can record footage, but I have no idea where it goes.
I think it saves locally, but anyway, all the same, it's a very cool game. But I think that about wraps up our first half.
Yeah.
Before we go to the half break thing,
we
have socials.
Sponsors.
We do. We have socials. There is a Facebook, a Twitter, a Discord,
YouTube,
Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Instagram.
All right. Where are we not?
MySpace, Bebo.
No. No.
How about
LinkedIn?
Hell yeah.
We're on several buses in the area of Southern Highlands, New South Wales. You can see our faces like this.
Oh, no.
Every now and then a plane flies by and just has our banner across it. Sometimes smoke signals.
We should start just putting messages in Elden Ring. So look at Basement Discourse.
The desperation.
Look at Basement Discourse for tricks and tips on Elden Ring. Little do they know. It's just about Justin becoming a weeb.
Yeah. It's basically a, coming of age story, except instead of coming of age, he becomes a weeb.
It's an old guy watching cartoons.
Flawless. And break.
AFPS, Australia's Food Postal Service. As promised, we will not apologise for any inconveniences incurred while awaiting your meal, or the quality of said meal upon receival. However, we will offer you an additional service at a cost. For an extra $5, you can use our new and completely patented smoke signals. Now, wherever you are, you can light this signal, and our delivery drivers will have a better idea of where to find you. AFPS Smoke Signals. It's in the air. AFPS will not be held responsible for sudden combustion of smoke signals and any injuries or loss of damage that are incurred. Smoke signals may or may not increase the likelihood of receiving your order quicker. Go fuck yourself. And have a fuck day.
And thank you to our return sponsor who's helped fund our wonderful MySpace page, which should be up at myspace.com/Basement Discourse. And check that out. They paid for everything that you see there. So you'll love it.
AFPS.
We should. So, not to take away from wherever you're going to throw it to, and I'm sure it was an amazing segue. Did you know every website mentioned in How I Met Your Mother was actually created?
Yeah, dude. How nuts is that?
I think they've mostly elapsed now, but there was a heap. There was like Marshall and Lilly sell their stuff. Ted is a jerk. Like there was heaps of them. We should legit do a MySpace for Basement Discourse. That's just like, this is our MySpace. Fuck off back to YouTube.
Here's a link to Facebook.
So that actually used to be a really common thing in video games back in the day. Like, there were all sorts of weird things. Like, you would see like websites for stuff in a video game, and people would actually park on that URL because basically, like, the last thing you want is, let's say, the random website you put in there was like russianmafia.com or something, right?
Mm.
You don't want someone to buy that URL and then just put like big girthy penises all over it or something. Because then someone plays your game, goes to your URL, and it's some real fucked up shit. And during the early 2000s, that's exactly what the internet would have done. So that was a really common thing back then. So it would not surprise me if that's exactly why they did the same thing there. They also used to do the same thing for like phone numbers and stuff in certain TV shows.
Yeah, I remember that.
It varies a lot though. Some people would just buy a URL or a phone number and then just put a generic splash page or a generic voicemail type thing on it. Some people go to like wild lengths with that sort of shit though. Like, I haven't seen any of those websites.
Yeah, look, they're done pretty well. Like, they're basic, but they're done well, and they're done in the whole how I Met Your Mother chest of things. Like, they're good.
I don't know if they still exist, but they were
I'm
pretty...
almost 100% sure they do, because I'm sure I looked up one of the Barney ones recently, and it does still exist.
Do you have a rough idea of a URL?
Speaking of URLs that exist, though, spacejam.com still exists. And I'm not talking the new Space Jam. I'm talking OG 96 Space Jam. So if you look up spacejam.com, it's still there, and it's still in its like 2-bit form. You can download like
it's changed.
Oh, get fucked.
URL
You've broken me.
To Space Jam and New Legacy.
No, you wanks. Why would you do this to me? Please.
Right when you were bragging. Right in the middle
of it. No.
Ted Mosby is a jerk. Do not date him. Still exists.
Okay, cool.
No, dude. It still exists, you piece of shit. Google Space Jam. It's the first one.
Not a Father's Day. Not a Father's Day still exists. Not a Father's Day still exists.
So if you Google Space Jam, you go on to the first result, and it's the original spacejam.com, and it doesn't redirect. And go on to that, and it's fantastic. It's from like 96.
Oh, wow.
You can download thumbs.
Yeah, so it's spacejam.com/1996.
Puzzles the bar?
Okay, so they've done a new URL for it, I suppose. But yeah, that is the exact same as it's always been since Space Jam first came out.
That is so 90s. Like, it looks like
so
it was hosted
good
on GeoCities.
It's great. And you can go in there and download like the flash, like 0.3 second flashes, and it's just bugs going, yeah, we have got, and that's it. Like,
if you like basketball and you like to jam, go no further. Space Jam isn't just about Michael Jordan meeting the Looney Tunes. It's about a slamming, jamming game to keep the Looney Tunes out of a failed intergalactic theme pack.
Slamming, jamming.
Oh, that's rad.
Rounding out the cast of some of the biggest stars of the NBA, making their feature film debut. Wow.
Yeah, it's awesome. So I would suggest literally anyone, I don't care who you are, look up spacejam.com/1996. Is that right?
Yeah, /1996.
Yeah, okay, cool. So it was originally spacejam.com, but I guess that whole piece of crap new movie that they brought out just sort of had to fuck that up for me. So thank you.
I've got that new movie. I still haven't watched it.
Just take 1.5 to 2 hours of your time and just put that into the toilet.
I was gonna say, just put it into Elden Ring.
I mean, that would be and literally anything. Like,
that
just take a
fun.
really long shit, because that's like, it's just so bad, man.
Like, the thing
Breaks
is,
my
like,
heart.
I watched the old Space Jam not that long ago, right? And it's good.
Yeah,
but,
dude.
Like, it is also very clearly designed to sell toys.
Oh, for sure.
100%. Like, they're not hiding that at all.
No,
Yeah.
like
I
I think
mean, every brand was chasing Star Wars at that stage, right? Like they were all going,
They were chasing the dream. Yeah.
how do we make money? Movies that sell toys.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think they were chasing Star Wars because 1996 was 2001 when a new fucking episode 1
Phantom
came out.
Menace. Yeah, but
But there was still
before that, like the
I
toy
still ran
franchise for
into
the
a
first
lot of
3
people
were
in the
huge.
90s,
Yeah.
right? So like, unlike you two old fucks, I was under 10 in the 90s. And I was
Oh.
running into grown-ass adults our current age who had Star Wars figures in the box, perfectly preserved. And that was a thing. And then
It was a big thing.
big
Like, yeah, the original
companies
Star
caught
Wars
onto
was
the
a big thing.
fact.
Yeah.
Yeah, but big companies caught onto the fact that adults were doing this,
Well,
kids
that
were
and
doing this.
I'm almost
And
certain
then
Space
every
Jam.
90s franchise came out, or attempted franchise came out, in a way to sell toys. And
Yeah.
Well,
Space
yeah.
Jam is no...
No
like,
exception. Yeah, yeah.
I actually
They
watched
also,
it.
I think they had a deal with Macca's. So like even back then, Mickey D's.
I'm not... Everyone has a fucking deal with Mac.
Yeah,
Pokemon
but I
has
think
a
it
deal
was
with Mac.
Sonic has done it
before,
tons
like,
of times.
Yeah, but I think this was before all of that, and I think they actually featured them in the movie somewhere as well. So like they had a thing going on
I'm
prior
gonna watch
to,
it now.
like it
I'm
was a
gonna watch the shit
predetermined
out of that.
thing, you know, and they had massive ads come out for Space Jam and McDonald's together. So those ads are really good too. So check those out as well on YouTube.
So that's actually one thing that was really common in the 90s is like big upcoming things had a deal with like Burger King, Hungry Jack's, McDonald's, all that sort of
It
stuff.
was
To get the
huge.
hype up.
Like there's a whole video that I watched not that long ago about one failed Sonic game. And the whole reason it failed is because they rushed development because they couldn't break their contract with McDonald's for toys.
Yeah.
And because of that toy deal, they had to have a game that came out with it. If they didn't, then what the fuck are the point of the toys?
Mm.
So they had to rush the game out. The game ended up trash, blah, blah, blah.
Which one was that? Do you know?
Which game? I can't remember off the top of my head. I have watched a lot of these videos lately. Which does actually take me to an interesting one that I saw today for the movie Batman and Robin. Do we all remember that fantastic film with
Yes.
Bat Nipple?
God. Which one was that exactly?
So that was
what villain
the
did it have?
Clooney, Ivy, like Poison
Yeah.
Ivy,
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Freeze.
I was the Robin
Dude,
way too old to be
and-
adopted into a family.
The toys you used to get from either Macca's or Hungry Jack's were the little slides, yeah, and you
There's
could join the
Arnie-
slides together,
Arnie is-
right?
Arnie is
Arnie is Mr. Freeze.
Yeah.
Mr. Freeze.
Yeah.
So I found out some really interesting stuff about that today, which I thought was really cool. One was that Warner Brothers had seen the success of Tim Burton's Batman movies, so the first two with Michael Keaton as Batman,
Yeah.
and then the next one that had Val Kilmer as Batman, but it was directed by Joel Schumacher. They saw that that was still quite successful, but it was far more approachable. And they were like, all right, so the next movie, we basically want you to put in as many gadgets as you can. If you can put in costume changes, we want that as well. We need more villains. And it was all basically their plot.
So that's how Batman... Wait, we have Batman and Robin, then Batman... No, Batman Forever was the one with everyone.
No.
I'm going to look it up.
Trust me, dude. I
lost as
watched this
hell.
today.
Yeah.
So it went Batman, Batman Returns, Batman Forever, Batman and Robin. Batman and Robin was the last one with George Clooney. And yeah, that was basically one big ad for toys because that was their whole merchandising deal.
Yeah.
That's what they
Makes
wanted. And
sense.
they also didn't want it to be MA rated because Batman Forever had like Robin's parents dying and shit like that in it. And they're like, oh, you can't have that. That's not PG. So they made sure that there was nothing gritty or anything. There was as many wisecracking jokes and shit in there. And basically, they ruined an entire movie just to put toy
The
sales in it.
merch into it. Yeah.
And to be honest, they still sucked at it because Batman Forever had the best toy deal of any of them. I will hear no discussion about it. The glass cups that you got from McDonald's,
Dude, they were epic,
yes.
right?
the Two-Face cup
Yes.
was like the coolest.
Right.
I was actually talking to my wife about it not that long ago, and I was like, I want those cups back.
Oh my God, so do I. But now that I've started talking about these slides things, I want to find those too, because they were actually pretty funky. Like
the Space
slides.
Jam, like I remember those.
You could,
But
you slide them in and you
speaking
could
of
watch it.
Macca's,
That was sick.
Macca's stuff used to be better though, right? Like
Absolutely.
do you remember the Hunchback of Notre Dame glasses? Everyone had them.
Yeah.
They were like Stein glasses, but like shrunk down, but they were like good. Everyone's house had them, right?
Yeah,
like,
they had the printed picture on the front, right? Like it was
Oh
like
my
a
God.
stained glass window look to them and
You,
stuff.
you
but
can
yeah.
fucking still buy them. Batman Forever Riddler cup, $12 on eBay. Buy it now.
that's
He's
not
already
bad.
bought it. He's
Mate,
already bought it.
If I hadn't have just blown my wad on Elden Ring, I would be buying that. But
That's so
I'll be
cool.
coming back to that, and I'll be because
Next
my wife and I
episode,
will
we're all
only be
holding cups.
replace the can with a fucking this also, but that's one of the things that I do find interesting is like there was so much stuff in the 90s that was like really targeted merchandising. Like Godzilla had a bunch of shit too.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Dude, the toys were insane. They also did an animated. I think it was 4Kids did it. I'm not sure. I haven't fact checked it, but like there was an animated show that was fucking terrible where he happens to stumble across a Godzilla egg from the movies that didn't hatch, and then it like imprints on him, so it thinks it's his mum, and then does whatever he wants. And then they just fight like Mothra and all these other fucking monsters. It was so bad. It was like every 90s movie that got made into a follow-up cartoon, but it was so much worse somehow.
But like, I remember getting, I can't remember if it was from Hungry Jack's or Macca's, but it was a like hand puppet of Godzilla.
Yeah.
And you pressed it in its
Everybody
mouth,
had those.
and it went, "Rah!" I was like, how fucking cool was that? Like,
everybody had those. But the Godzilla scream though is iconic as fuck. So like,
like that
know
movie I rewatched not that long ago. It's pretty bad. It is.
it's very bad.
It is genuinely
very
pretty
bad.
Nice.
Nice. But I remember it being amazing as a kid.
You'll remember the P Diddy song for that?
Dude,
I used to think that song was dope as hell. Come with me. It was like Led Zeppelin in the background. They were doing Kashmir.
Fucking, is it Robert Plant, the guitarist from Led Zeppelin?
They're Plant in the background doing the Kashmir song.
I love that this started as hanging shit on things with 90 cliches, and now we're like, dude, remember this 90s?
This was super.
90s rock. Take me back.
Yeah.
Fuck Elden Ring. Why don't they make an Elden Ring in the 90s?
Title of the video, fuck Elden Ring.
Yes.
Yeah, dude.
Flawless.
The 90s was a hell of a time.
The whole
Anyone who
first
missed
half
out
is
on it
us
needs to go
sipping
back.
over it.
But
No, that animation was bad, but that movie was definitely made to sell toys, 100%. I remember everyone had the collection of baby Godzillas that had different personalities and different colors that never came up in the movie at fucking all. So this one is this, and there's like a backstory on the fucking cardboard before you rip it open to get the plastic character out that definitely broke.
There's a whole fucking interesting story about this. I can't remember who did it, but I'll track down the video and we can put it in the link so other people can watch it.
Sure.
There's a really interesting story about both the Batman Forever and the Godzilla and how their merchandising worked and how they ruined everything. Really interesting stuff.
Nice.
But
speaking of Batman, though, hold on. Have you guys seen the new Batman?
I haven't.
I haven't.
Ah, dang.
And this is like 3 weeks after you're talking now, so like we have.
Probably.
But we haven't at this point.
In the future, we will
like
do this.
I'm
it's on my
pretty
list
keen to see it. Like anything Batman that comes out, you can sign me up,
Yeah.
regardless how bad it's going to be.
I
or
want
how
to
good
know.
it's going to be.
I just want to know someone's interpretation of the whole thing. Like,
Well, that's
I'm not going to
exactly-
judge it against the Batman, the character. I'm just going to be like, this is a collection of people who wanted to show it this way.
Yeah.
Of a
That's the
character
hard part
who's-
with this, right? Like it's hard because you
Then
are
we're talking about a
contrasting it to the
character
other
who is
ones.
like drinking age off being 100 years old.
Yeah. His first comic was
Look.
either the 30s or 40s. I can't remember.
Yeah. And then we had
Yeah,
the old Adam West.
That
Oh my
is
God.
much later
God.
than that, but sure, Justin.
If anyone has not,
Adam
yeah,
West stuff was the 60s?
the 60s, yeah.
Yeah.
If anyone has not watched Adam West's Batman, go back and at least watch the movie
The
from the
shark
60s.
repellent.
Oh my God, the shark repellent bat spray is the best. And,
Yeah.
and the shark explodes because it's a whole thing. You got to watch it to believe it. Watch that movie.
Actually,
So that's my suggestion. Go to the Space
How
Jam
superheroes
website.
started. This is what took the idea of a gadget for everything to the extreme. And
They went too
I'm
far.
not even mad. But no,
Except
we
they
haven't watched
didn't
it.
fucking
Sorry about
make toys out
ruining
of
your
it.
segue there, Justin.
No,
but
that's
neither
all right.
of us have fucking
This
watched
is
it.
this is exactly what I actually intended to have happen during this segue. So I assumed one or more of us hadn't watched it yet because it's fairly new at this point.
yeah.
That's
I'm
fine.
super keen, but that's one of the things. So let's talk a little bit about Batman movies because there is.
This is the thing, right? We don't need any more content for this episode. Batman is a big thing.
Yeah, and I'm a pretty big Batman nerd. I'm not a huge comic nerd. We will discuss comics and things like that in the future, but I'm not a big comic nerd, but I have always had a thing for Batman. I don't know what it is. I think it's because,
Is it the
he's-
code or
No, fuck, I would kill the shit out of everyone.
Yeah.
right?
no.
Yeah. How
Yeah,
could you
that's-
just put up with Joker like all the time?
I
Oh, dude.
100% would have just stabbed him in the neck straight away.
Like he's not
Like, just
rehabilitating.
back.
Like every time he gets out, he ain't
He literally
rehabilitated.
converted one of his psychiatrists
Yeah,
to
exactly.
be his sidekick. Like,
Yeah.
I want to know why Batman puts his efforts into like collecting these people and putting them in the one place instead of training the people in that place to keep them the fuck in.
I know, right? Like,
He has so much money and resources. Why does he not just
Instead of-
spend some of it
instead of,
keeping
like,
that place?
recapturing, how about enclosing properly? Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I think they actually made a joke about that in the Dark Knight Rises. Alfred says an offhand comment about maybe if you gave some of your gadgets to the police, they could, as in referring to capturing Bane.
yeah.
And he says something about, he can't let his stuff get in the wrong hands or something.
Which is
It's a
fair
fucking
enough, too.
Iron Man situation, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mm.
So, like, I sort of get it, sort of don't. But, like, talking about, like, the Batman
Considering none of
movie-
his stuff is lethal, I think it's fine. Fucking
Well,
hand
it
it
could
over.
be, like,
could
what
be.
about
I
It
the
could,
things-
suppose.
but like,
the things he gets in his arms in the second movie, the blades, when he's looking
Yeah.
for a more agile suit, and he
Mm.
presses the button and they just go bing straight into the wall. I think that would be lethal.
Yeah,
And
I
like,
feel like
he-
it
Yeah.
would be.
his car has fucking cannons on it that blow shit up because he blows up several cars in the second
yeah,
movie.
he does.
Yeah, but they're all empty.
They're all definitely empty.
Which I don't get. What are these cars doing in an underpass, deserted?
It's Gotham City.
They just got
Everybody
out and
knows
jumped.
it's incredibly full of crime, and everyone still leaves their shit lying around.
Yeah.
And like there is
That's-
actually videos that I've seen as well where people like go through the fight scenes and like stuff like that, and they're like, that guy definitely died and shit
Yeah.
like that. Like there is no way that you can be 100% sure that you're not going to accidentally kill someone.
Yeah.
Like
That
some guy
was,
swings at you,
And,
throat
and look,
punch
the
him.
comic books did play on that, and like I'm probably the biggest of the three of us in the comic book world. The comics did explore that in different realms, and what they didn't have the time to do, but they should have done a bit more with Affleck's Batman, was that he was the Dark Knight, in that he was a aged Batman who was now tired. He's done 20 odd years of this shit and gotten not very far. So like they didn't hide it in the new DCU with all its faults. They didn't hide that Batman was killing. Like I think in like BVS, for all its problems, one of the things he does, like straight up in his first like mob fight scene, is like snap someone's neck over a fucking like crate. Like
and there's a scene with him with a rifle as well at one point, isn't there?
Yeah,
are we talking about new Batman?
No, Batfleck.
Technically, yes,
yeah,
but
yeah.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, and he was like branding people. That was a Dark Knight thing. There was Batman has, everyone has the image of Batman, I think, from like a version that's one version and not the iterations of him that have existed.
Yeah.
Because unlike all our other heroes, Wonder Woman and Superman, who do age somewhat slowly, Aquaman, even the Flash, Batman is just a genuine human being, and he is getting tired and worn down. So the initial one, he's very code strong, and then the older one still kind of is code strong, but he starts breaking it a tiny bit at a time. But the dude's like 50-something by the time that starts
fighting
occurring.
for a city that doesn't want to fight for itself. Like, and I think that's the cool contrast.
Again, could have walled in the asylum a little bit better.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. But it's
Stop
not even that. Like,
escape.
it's just the corruption and the darkness of the city, which is a cool contrast to Batman's code, is this city that just constantly pushes back. Like, it's just an uphill fucking battle because there's millions of people inside of a city that don't give a shit. Like, they just all have their own agenda. They all care about certain things, and they're always just trying to.
And that always gave good debate. I actually thought that was great story because it was so fun to read, like a character like the other guys, right? Like Superman, Wonder Woman, the Flash, even Aquaman are all pretty fast. They could walk in on a normal human on human crime and create very limited injury and stop the crime. They could walk in, save all the hostages, and get the villains and tie them up without actually like breaking bones if they really wanted to, because they're all that fast.
Yeah.
Whereas Batman doesn't have that option. Like, he's a good fighter, but as anyone who's ever like, you know, experienced conflict in their life, fights don't go according to plan ever. And Batman does his best, but often people get a little bit more hurt than they should in his defense of himself. So Batman was great stories to read, and I do think as well as he does transfer to the big screen, sometimes there are limitations to that.
Yeah, and I think there's merit in nearly all the film Batman that I have seen. Like, we talked about the issue with the Batman and Robin, but I sort of consider that chunk, so the Schumacher and Tim Burton 90s Batman movies, I consider them all one piece. They're like one series, right?
Most people do, yeah.
And the first two are amazing, you know, fucking Jack Nicholson as the Joker. We've got Danny DeVito as the Penguin. Like,
that was insane. Yeah,
and
the only problem with Returns I felt was they stuffed a bit too much in, but like at the nonetheless, it was fun to watch.
Yeah, and there was a bit of like sort of hammy, like tacked on stuff when it came to Return, and then also when it goes to fucking Batman Forever, it got even sort of hammier. But like, I think they're all great films in their own right. They sort of have that sort of comic-y feel, like in the sense that it has a very comic book feel, but it was still dark and gritty to some extent. Then you go to Christopher Nolan's thing, and it's like, what if Batman existed in a real world?
Yes, correct.
And I'm like, that's a fucking cool concept.
Yep.
I'm alone in this, and I know I am. I didn't love the whole trilogy in general. I
You're a
didn't
piece of
like.
shit.
Yeah, I knew you were gonna. I didn't like. As much as he's amazing in other films, I didn't like him as Batman.
Oh, Christian Bale.
Yeah, I just didn't. And then what I really didn't like about the films is they tried to pretend a lot of time had passed between each one, but like Christian Bale looked the same in each one. That was a fatal flaw. Like they gave him the like leg brace in the last one and stuff. Like it didn't really work as well as they were trying. I give them credit for trying, but it didn't
So
hit.
what I found is that it felt like more time had passed between Batman Begins and The Dark Knight than The Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises. And that's purely because between Batman Begins and The Dark Knight, he went from nobody really like who is the Batman? He sort of saved us this one time to all the criminals like fuck where's the Batman? So you know that he's been out there doing his crime stopping, but then at the end of The Dark Knight they're like, he is a fucking criminal, blah blah blah, we've got to get him, blah 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 blah. But then when it comes to like things like Gordon's speech was on the anniversary of Harvey Dent's death.
Yeah.
Spoilers. Maybe we should come on to the statute of limitations with spoilers at some point.
Yes.
That is one of our topics. So, but yeah, so he mentioned that on the anniversary. So was it the 1 year anniversary? Like I feel like they're trying to imply that a lot of time had passed.
But why would they bring it up every year?
They all look the same.
It wasn't that important that they're going to bring it up every year.
Yeah, they didn't look that much older. Like I give them a lot of credit at the very least for doing their own fucking thing. Not doing a camp thing. They stepped away from the 90s. As good as the 90s are in their field, I'm glad that they were like, no, we're going to do our own thing.
Yep.
But it didn't hit home for me because I was like, I felt like you tried to be super one way and it didn't quite work for me.
So
the fact that I know he's meant to be Dark Knight, I think he could have been more brutal by the end of it, to be honest.
More brutal and way older and way more like just I think more.
And also watching Titans and seeing Batman in that, he just feels old.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he has that old feel to it.
Yeah. What bothers me with that is it's very obvious that they have some limitations in that show, and it bothers me at times because it's not hidden, it's not very well written. Like it's very clear that they can only do what they can do.
Like not show him in a suit.
It's not even I don't even care about, like I do but I don't. It just, it's obvious they can't instead of written in that they can't. Like, I don't know how to explain that better. It just feels very, like, in your face.
Yeah, it feels like our license only gets us this far.
Yeah.
But in 100%. Saying that, I'm totally okay with that in that context.
Yeah, because I'm not in Titans to see Batman anyways. So
no, and that, yeah, I'm with you.
But
which is why I wish
also
they hadn't
could play
made
it out. Yeah, they could just have played him out as some sort of, vision that pops up every now and then instead of being an actual person. I would have actually preferred that that Robin doesn't meet up with Batman at the end of season 1. It makes zero sense. It just doesn't really work that well.
No, I'm with you. Yeah.
In all honesty, like I think with Titans, they could have just had like 1 point. So season 2, this is it's not really a spoiler, but most of it happens in Gotham, right?
Yeah.
A lot of it happens in Gotham. But it would be so fucking cool if, like, the only thing that you had seen of Batman in the entire series was just, like, at the end of one of the fights, he just drops down and just punches a bunch of people and just, like, necks on people. and then gone. That's it. That's all you see.
Or like he's
Yeah.
not even involved, and you just see the flicker of even just a cloak up in the top of a building, as if he was watching it all go down.
I would have
and
rather
then
the
turns his back on it.
cheapskate. I would have rather the cheapskate version, like the
Yep.
end of the end of Gotham, or the end of Smallville. That was the same thing where they did like you get it, but you can't see them in the costume, but like
Yeah.
you get it. Like I would have rather that than what they did. In a way,
Yeah. And I feel that,
Yeah.
but I think that you could say that about like most of the iterations of Batman as well.
that's
Like
true.
I agree to an extent about Christopher Nolan's Batman movies I absolutely adore because I think Christopher Nolan is a brilliant director.
Oh, he definitely is.
And the way those movies are made is so engaging. I just watch them regularly just because I enjoy them. But I definitely feel like there should have been more films in that series to make
I
the
feel like
last
the
one
epic,
feel like the end.
Yeah, right. It just
the
built
epic,
up
the
too quick.
tale is all there, but it feels not even rushed. It just feels like I've not been told bits.
Yeah, it sort of feels
And
like
it makes the bits I have been told weaker.
Yeah, I feel like between Dark Knight Rises and The Dark Knight, maybe have a movie that doesn't really have Batman in it. Have it follow James Gordon and what he had to do with the Dent Act and all that.
I mean, they could
Yeah.
essentially bring one out still. Like, there's nothing really. Is there anything stopping them from doing that?
Yeah,
side gig?
there's
I mean, someone else has the Batman now, so I suppose.
Yeah,
there's
so like
part
kind
of that.
The ship has sailed, I suppose.
that, and Christopher Nolan said that he doesn't want to do them anymore. Like he was set and forget with the 3.
Yeah.
I just feel like because he did the beginning to the end in 3 movies, it feels like you've just covered like what should have been, say, 30 plus years
Yeah.
in 3 and a bit hours.
Yeah.
Actually, it might be 4 or 5.
No, it's more, but like I know what you
More,
mean.
but
That's
yeah.
how I feel about it. And it's weird because I feel like the one with Bane went on a long fucking time. And then the other 2 I was like, oh, they didn't feel that long at all. And it just it didn't quite do what I think they were aiming for it to do
Yeah,
because of that.
and I also think it's a total missed opportunity that having like real life Batman didn't have Killer Croc as a villain and get fucking Eric Sprague the Lizard Man to fucking play him. How much of a missed opportunity is that?
Yeah, that's fair.
That's true too.
No,
That's
it's
true too.
so we can definitely discuss it more after Jace and I have watched the new one as well.
Yeah,
'cause
for sure.
That's gotta happen.
The new one was good, and it has some. I don't know. We'll talk about it later because I don't want to talk too much and just be saying
So-
shit for the sake of saying it.
Justin,
What about the Joker though? What did you guys think of the Joker?
you know,
Because it's
Yeah.
pretty,
Well,
it's
I'm-
very different.
Holy
It's very
fuck,
arty
Jace and I
and-
are on the same page.
Wow.
I love Joaquin Phoenix.
Same.
Big and homie, represent.
Different reason.
Yeah, but like he's a brilliant actor as well. Like, and he is such a bizarre method actor as well. But and like I think the story was good, but I just feel so uncomfortable watching it because I'm someone like this is going to get awfully personal, but like I am someone that is very introverted and I avoid awkward situations as much as possible because like I don't know, weird confrontation really bothers me. And like 80% of that film is him getting into situations that are really awkwardly confrontational. And not in like a violently confrontation. I'm fine with that. But like opening up a conversation with a stranger in such a bizarre way, like some of the ways he introduces conversation makes me so uncomfortable. So I've only ever watched the film once.
Wow.
And like I love the way that it ended. and how it sort of segues into him becoming the Joker.
So
Maybe.
I am with you on that. I actually have two things. Being the big comic book person I am. So first, I'm with you on that because I felt like instead of making a Joker origin film, they made a movie where a man who was disabled, like he had a card about that problem, was shat on for an hour and a half till he snapped. That was uncomfortable to watch, not in a good storytelling point of view, just uncomfortable to watch.
But I would argue that could be a good storytelling mechanic, but
yes, but, and that brings me to my second point, I don't want the Joker to have an origin story, and neither does DC. Not really. Like,
well,
the
yeah.
Joker
I mean,
consistently,
he has the
like,
origin, doesn't he? He falls
No.
into the
no,
vat
he
of
doesn't.
whatever, or-
Heath Ledger played on that with the,
Right.
you know, how I got these scars and it was a different
Yeah.
story every time. The Joker literally has forgotten his own story. That's the reason Batman has struggled. There was one comic where he says, "Oh, I always knew who he was, but it's irrelevant because it doesn't mean anything to who he is today." But in general,
So
it's widely considered the Joker doesn't know his own origin story, therefore you can't know it as the reader.
this is the
making
big
a
thing, though.
Joker origin story
You guys have watched
bothers
it,
me.
yeah? You've both
Yeah.
watched it.
Yeah.
You get to the end of the film, and whatever. I guess it's a spoiler, but you know it's pretty old, so go out and watch
The
it.
guy
It's great.
becomes the Joker.
Yeah. So
great. Now I don't want to watch
the
it again.
premise of the film is how a city can fail you, how a system can fail someone with a disability. So he tells the person at the psych ward, the free community psych ward that he goes to, that what does he say? I sometimes I don't feel like I don't even exist anymore, and she just says the government's pulling the funding. This is your last session, basically, and like they just stop giving him his meds. Everything fails him. He gets shit on by the comedian. Everything. It just pushes him to that point where he breaks finally. But the end of it, where he's in the psych ward and just sort of laughs about it and all the rest of it, it insinuates that it may not have even happened at all. So I think it's actually the perfect non-origin Joker story, because did it happen, or was it all happening inside of his brain, inside of the psych ward this whole time, which just becomes one of his stories later on of, how I got these scars.
Maybe I just felt like that scene didn't do a good enough job of being possibly ambiguous. It seemed very real. It only slightly got to what you're getting at for me.
Yeah, but I totally see where Justin's coming from.
I see where you're coming from.
It's sort of like the Gotham Joker story, if you guys have seen that.
Yeah.
So the Joker is killed in the Gotham TV series as a teenager. Like, he does not reach adulthood.
Yeah,
but he's
that's
not
right.
known as the Joker. He's Jermaine.
Yeah,
right?
Jermaine.
And yeah, so he's killed, and then I think at some point he's actually resurrected. But after he's resurrected, there's some way that he ends up spreading his message.
Yep.
And so his insanity spreads. And that's sort of supposed to be the vague thing that he was the Joker, but maybe he actually wasn't the Joker, and he just incited what became the Joker later.
Yeah, they had a good fun thing with that. And then the comics do a weird thing as well. And again, this is, I guess, spoiler, even though it's old as shit now. They had a point where they brought in, because DC are well known for constantly revamping their entire universe, but giving reasons for it to doing so. At one stage, there was 3 Jokers existing in the one realm.
And
one was the New 52 one, which is close to what Jared Leto's was based on. Another one that was the more comedian-based one that we're sort of familiar from Jack Nicholson, and then another one was somewhere in between the two, between complete anarchy and killer and Joker, and yeah. There was 3 of them, and then they played each other against each other, and then there was a Jason Todd storyline where Red Hood killed one of them, and so there's been lots of fun to have with it. I just didn't feel like the Joker. He's such a popular character. I know why they wanted to make a movie out of it, but I personally kind of didn't want it.
I didn't know what to expect. I really didn't know what to expect, but I'm actually going to put this out there. That was in my top 5 of all-time favorite films.
It was a brilliantly made movie.
Yeah, and that's a big call for me. I do love my films. Like, I really do put a lot of time and effort into taking notice. But
I can judge that movie as a good movie.
Yeah. It's the soundtrack from Hilda Guanadotir, I think is her name, is epic. Like, it is just super eerie. She also did Chernobyl, the TV series, which is also super eerie. The whole violin in the background of everything going on in that is just holy crap. I
fucking love that series.
So that series is ridiculous, and just the fact that it's based on reality is so fucking terrifying.
Well,
but
it's so awkward too, because when that series came out, it was like 6 months beforehand. I started getting my Chernobyl themed head tattoos. So then the TV series comes out, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is reference to Pripyat and the adventure, like the misadventures of the Chernobyl power plant, and people are like, oh, like the TV show, and I'm like,
damn,
that wasn't my intention. I had this
now
plan for like 8 years, and then I get it done, and a TV show comes out.
Yeah, so the eerie soundtrack in the background of everything he does, and just that whole dance in the bathroom scene and stuff.
It just
anyway,
is. It's a good actor, good writing.
It's a very art film, and you either love it or you just don't really want to love it. And I think that's the difference. Like, you can't hate it. You can't hate it because it's very well done.
You can't because it's very well. Yeah.
I think it's a brilliant film, and it's well done, and I think it stands on its own merits. It's just so full of uncomfortable things for me, and it's weird. Like, the UK version of the TV show The Office with Ricky Gervais, I can't watch that too much because his character makes me uncomfortable. Because he keeps getting into situations that I'm like, no, why would you say that in that environment? Like, no, don't do that. And it genuinely makes me uncomfortable, so I can't do it.
Have you watched the new show with Ricky Gervais then? The one that has 3 seasons out?
Afterlife?
Yeah, because
I've watched bits and pieces of that. Like,
that does make me uncomfortable too. But it's clever.
It's a bit better though.
Yeah.
Like, it's a little less uncomfortable, but it is typical Ricky Gervais, and I absolutely love his comedy. So
he's funny as shit.
Yeah, it's fucking excellent. But are we like nearing
we're like
time limit?
Yeah. I think that's
we didn't even get to touch on our topic.
Elden Ring and Batman.
But like,
I'm not gonna say we're going for the trending vote, but undeliberately we've gone for the 3 weeks way too late for the trending vote.
Yeah, but no, I think Elden Ring will still be popular by the time this
I agree, and Batman will still be in cinemas in that time, so
it's growing in popularity, if anything, and
Wait, have they come up with a name for Robert Pattinson? Because, like, they really should call him Robert Battinson.
It's got to be Pattinson.
It's got to be Guy from Twilight, isn't it?
Patsman?
No, it's Patsman. It's got to be Battinson. It's got to be Robert Pattinson.
You could call him Bobman because it's Robert.
No,
that's what Justin would call him. Of course, he loves it.
Bobman, nailed it.
Yeah, of course he fucking would.
Oh my god!
There's going to be so many Bobs in this fucking D&D campaign. I swear to you.
You wait till you.
I want it.
We're going to get attacked by an army of Bobs from the cult of Bob.
If there's not a cult of Bob, I'm going to be so upset.
Fantastic.
All right. Well, that's been Basement Discourse. I hope you enjoyed Batman and Elden Ring. And I don't know what else we say before we sign off.
You already did all the socials. So
yeah,
I guess thank you guys for listening.
See you later, bitch.